いちごジャム、梅ジャム、オレンジジャムに、バターと蜂蜜、あとシナモンもかけちゃおう。最強のパンができちまったぜ。
Shoot. Well, now I'm hungry.
Behold, I am Butter Knife Man, here to take a crack at Denji's ultimate toast from Chainsawman, which he is kind enough to list out all of the components. First off is bread, obviously, which is really hard to pick up with knife hands. Most likely the bread is shokupan, which is a white loaf that's usually square. I don't have the specialized pan though. He then lists off 3 spreads: plum jam, strawberry jam, and orange marmalade. And for the last toppings, just because, he adds honey and a pat of butter. And cinnamon, which I forgot for this shot. Oops. Since it takes the longest time, let's start with the bread. Our shokupan is derived from the website Japanese Cooking 101, and starts with 420 milliliters of warm milk. Make sure it's not above 90 degrees Fahrenheit or you will kill your yeast. 40 grams of sugar, 10 grams of dry yeast. Give a little whisking and let sit for 5 minutes. Then we can pour on 600 grams of bread flour, 10 grams of salt, and mix with your favorite pirate hook for 8 minutes or so, matey. Lastly, we add 40 grams of softened butter unsalted. Continue to knead in the mixer until it forms a smooth dough. For the first proof, ball up the dough and let it sit covered for about an hour until doubled in size, which is the perfect time to start jamming. I couldn't find any plums in the store for our plum jam, but prunes are just sun-dried plums, right? So for this simple rehydrated prune spread, adapted from mindovermunch.com, we need 8 ounces of prunes, 1 cup of water, cooked over low heat for about 20 minutes until soft and mashable. The easiest spread of the day. In fact, it's much easier than strawberry jam. Starts with, predictably, strawberries. I've got 1 pound of frozen strawberries, thawed and cored, mixed with 2 cups of sugar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Once the berries have broken down a bit, I blended them to make it as smooth as it seems to look in the show. Bring the entire mixture to a boil while stirring, and then bring up to 220 degrees Fahrenheit and cook for about 15 minutes or so, or until you can put a little blob on a frozen plate and the jam sets. In fact, this is the same technique that you can help check for the orange marmalade, which starts with 2 oranges, which is about a pound, juiced, and the inside scraped out and set aside into a cheesecloth pouch. Then slice the outside into strips, as thin as you'd like, and then dice further as desired. The one in the show looked pretty smooth, so I'm going for a pretty small dice. We also need the help of an additional citrus, 1/3 of a lemon, chopped and the seeds removed. Add your lemon, orange peel, and juice to the pot, along with enough water to cover, and the cloth bag. Simmer until the pots are soft and spoon tender, which takes about an hour. You should probably work in a larger batch than I am, in a larger pot, but I don't want to make like 3 pounds of marmalade, so there. Remove the bag, and then volume out how much stuff you've got, adding about 3/4 of a cup of sugar for every cup of orange bits. Squeeze the cheesecloth bag in the hopes of extracting any available pectin, and then bring the new mixture up to 220 degrees Fahrenheit and cook for 15 minutes or so, or until you could put it on a frozen plate and the jam sets. I think I actually went too far, because now I have like half candied peel, which is still delicious. Back to the bread. My yeast were apparently very excited today, since I'm pretty sure this is more than doubled. But we're still going to divide it into 4 balls, which we are then going to squeeze into a loaf pan. Mine is way too small, but it will work out in the end. You already saw the bread in the intro. Cover and then rise again for 45 minutes before baking at 400 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven for 45-ish minutes. Flip out immediately and allow to cool before cutting. This first slice will be a perfect sacrifice to the chef who has been cured of his knife hands. You know, it tastes pretty good, although the crust is slightly overbaked. It's like a standard soft white bread, but kind of less cakey and sweet than something you'd buy at the store. And it allows me to practice my anime girl late to school impression. Once toasted up, it's time to try and meticulously copy the picture from the anime. Trying to see the order he did things, I think the strawberry jam is at the bottom. It's the least chunky, so I guess it makes sense to go first. And make sure it overflows on the back and the sides a little. Yeah, that looks about right. The next decision is harder. The plum spread and the marmalade are pretty similar in color and consistency in the show, unlike my dark prune jam and chunky marmalade. And let's go for the prunes first. It kind of covers from here to there, then add some little messy splots. It's kind of hard to be intentionally messy. And then the orange on top. A few wayward chunks for added effect. A big ol' pat of softened butter near the back, hoping it'll melt slightly on the still slightly warm toast. And a light drizzle of honey. I imagine this is already a sugar crash waiting to happen. Oh, and cinnamon. I didn't forget the cinnamon. Ignore the sound of my spice grinder in the background. Here it is, the cinnamon. Ta-da! I've got the best toast ever right here. Maybe. I mean, it smells really nice, of all the fruits and the warm, fresh bread and the warming spices. But oh my god, lifting it up is a disaster. It's so heavy and soaked. Man, toasting it didn't even protect that poor innocent bread. I should have cut it like an inch thicker. The toast can't take any more, Captain. It's just... this is way too much of everything. The individual components are actually quite good, but they kind of sort of mute each other. The prune jam is already light in flavor. It's kind of similar to eating a fistful of waterlogged raisins. In a good way, I promise. And strawberry jam itself is already a bit light as well. The orange is the one that actually stands out the most, both in texture and flavor. And it needs like double the bread to survive this onslaught. But I do think that would miss the point. This toast is kind of meant to be excessive. The joy of someone experiencing jams and condiments for the first time. And for that, I rate it a fun but not functional out of 10. I don't think I'm gonna finish this thing though. Ugh. Hey, Postscript Mike here. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I just wanted to let you know I did finish all of that toast, except for the last bite, over the course of like an hour. It was a mistake. A fatty, sugary mistake. Ugh. Okay, bye.